I'm Courtney Fallon, and welcome to the Game Plan on Reach TV, your insider guide to this week's key NFL action. In the Game Plan, I tap into the Bleav Podcast Network to bring you the most important information you need to know for this week's big games. One round down and three more to go before a trophy is raised in Vegas. The divisional round is upon us, and a lot of offseason noise has kicked into gear. And to go over the big news of the week, I am joined by the Daniel Wilcox of the Bleav in Ravens podcast. Daniel, you ready to play 3 and out?
Absolutely, Courtney. Let's do it.
First down, Baker Mayfield is having a career year. And I called it on this show last week. I said he was going to smoke the Eagles. He dropped 337 passing yards, 3 touchdowns in a masterful performance that kicked Philly to the curb and off to Cancun. If you are the Bucs, are you signing Baker Mayfield to a long-term contract? Why or why not?
I think you sign him to a long-term only if you have to. If you don't have to and you still kind of got exclusive rights to him, another one-year deal, prove it. Just prove it one more year that you're the guy that I think you are. And I think the funny thing about this whole entire league, Courtney, is that it's all based off confidence. And Baker is starting to get that confidence back right now. So if he could do it one more season, or at least half of another season, then he'll get a long-term deal for me.
Second down, let's talk about those Eagles. They got washed out of the playoffs without putting up a fight. Jason Kelce, a future Hall of Famer, stated that he will retire. And the secondary is in shambles. Are the Eagles a player or two away?
To me, I don't know if they're a player away. I think they have a phenomenal team. I think they're stacked with talent from top to bottom. I think their main issue may be something internal. I don't know if it's an inside the locker room thing or if it's inside the coaching staff thing or inside the front office thing, but whatever it is, it's derailing this team and it's putting them in a very bad spot. And you never see that unless there's something chemistry that's off. I can't say enough about the importance of just having and owning your confidence. I don't know if it's an offensive thing or defensive thing or if it's a whole team thing, with the head coach coming down. But whatever it is, something's not right. This is the same team that went to a Super Bowl last year and should have won it if it wasn't for 1 or 2 mistakes.
Speaking of showing up on someone else's team, third down, Bill Belichick has met with the Atlanta Falcons. Is this a huge, expensive risk for the Falcons, or could you see him fitting somewhere like the Dallas Cowboys?
I think it's a huge, expensive risk for the Falcons. I don't really see Bill Belichick being a good fit for Atlanta. Not just the Falcons, but just Atlanta itself. Like, Atlanta has this dynamic, youthful, spirited type energy. And it's, he's such an older guy with older ways. He needs somebody to come in that could actually embrace the culture of Atlanta and be able to pour that out through the team, and the team will take on the energy that Atlanta has. I'm just not 100% sure he's the guy that'll get it done for us.
But we got some rapid fire questions. I'll state the game, and then you give me the winner.
Okay.
Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. Give me your quick breakdown of the game, Daniel Wilcox.
Be more, stand up. Let's go. Let's go, Ravens. All day Ravens. Hands down, Ravens.
All right, let's talk about Green Bay and San Francisco.
Hey, Courtney, I 100% think this is going to be a San Fran win. I love what Jordan Love is doing in Green Bay. I think he's playing phenomenal. I think he may just maybe slight edge be a better quarterback than Purdy, but Purdy got a surrounding cast that I think will make up for anything that he's lacking.
Tampa Bay, they're playing at Detroit. Okay, all right, yeah. All right, so can you see them upsetting Jared Goff, the new king of Detroit, this weekend?
Absolutely not. I see that Detroit is going to pull this thing off. I don't know why I feel that way. My ex-teammate Aaron Glenn is their D coordinator, and I love the fact that their head coach is a former NFL guy too, Dan Campbell, but unfortunately I think Detroit has it.
And last one, Kansas City and Buffalo.
This is such a tough game if I was a betting man, I think I'd lose money on this one. I don't know who's going to win this one. This is a toss-up for me. I don't know if it's a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen thing. If I just had to shoot for the quarterbacks, I'm going with Patrick. If I had to shoot for a whole team, I got to go for Buffalo. I think Buffalo will pull this one out.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Appreciate your time. We'll see you on again soon. Coming up next, I'm breaking down my 3 key games that you need to know for the NFL Divisional Round. Each week, I like to focus on 3 key games that you need to know about. And entering the Divisional Round, I have circled these 3 matchups that we need to cover. And it's win or go home now, baby. Aren't the playoffs fun? Let's get started. My first key game takes us out to Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, as the 49ers host the Green Bay Packers. The Niners will be a well-rested squad after a first-round bye. I'm sure the Niners thought that this was going to be a classic matchup against the Cowboys, but the Packers had other things to say about that. San Fran finished the regular season as the #1 offense in the league, including the #1 passing game, with a couple of MVP candidates sprinkled into that conversation as well. To find out how they keep the good times rolling in the playoffs and their quest for a Super Bowl bid, let's hear from Tracy Sandler from the Tracy Sandler Show. She's got the deets. Girl, what is the game plan for the Niners?
Thank you, Courtney. The #1 seed San Francisco 49ers host the #7 seed Green Bay Packers at Levi Stadium Saturday night in the divisional round. The Packers are a team that started the season 2-5, went on a run, snuck into the playoffs, and then upset the Dallas Cowboys in the wildcard round. Now that's something for the 49ers defense to keep an eye on because their rush defense has struggled a bit as of late, but it looks like they'll be getting Eric Armstead back, and that would be a huge boost. They'll be without Cleveland Farrell, but Armstead should absolutely help things. On offense, the 49ers are definitely going to be too big a match for the Packers defense. They have not had to contend with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and of course, the ringmaster of it all, quarterback Brock Purdy. The 49ers, as has been proven, are just better, and I think the talent disparity comes into play on Saturday night. I'm picking the 49ers to win 31-17. Back to you, Courtney.
I love it. As always, Tracy, great information right there. I agree. The Niners have just too many high-powered weapons on offense for the Packers to handle. But to me, listen, this comes down to who has the better red zone offense. They're both teams that are great on third downs, but can they punch it in when it counts? San Francisco was the most efficient offense in the NFL this year. They faced the fewest third downs in the NFL by a large margin. See if that stays true this weekend. The Packers are riding high after destroying the Cowboys last weekend and were rewarded with a trip to San Francisco. Listen, no one can write off Jordan Love anymore. The former first-round pick out of Utah State threw for 272 yards and 3 touchdowns. To find out if the Pack and Love, sounds like a great podcast name to me, if they have a repeat performance in them, let's hear from Mike Wall from the On My Block podcast. Mike, what do you got for me?
Thanks, Courtney. The Packers completely dominated the #2 seed Cowboys. They dropped 48 points in Arlington to set up this monster matchup versus NFC royalty. So what are the things the Packers can do to take down the #1 seed San Francisco 49ers in Levi Stadium? Number one, take away the middle of the field on defense. The Packers need to get good depth from their linebackers off that play action look. They need to rally to the football and tackle the checkdowns. Niners feast on big plays. The Packers really have to make them earn it. Number two, collapse the pocket. Now the matchup between Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, and the right side of the Niners offensive line is going to be a huge one to watch this week. And then number three, make this another Aaron Jones football game. Aaron Jones has 4 weeks in a row now. 20-plus carries, 100-plus yards. The Niners have probably the best box seven in the National Football League, but you have to keep them honest if you want Jordan Love and those young wide receivers to flourish once again. Check out the On My Block podcast if you want to get video breakdown of what's going on in the NFL. Thanks. Back to you, Courtney.
Mike, thank you for that, and I agree with your third point. Aaron Jones is the key for the Packers. Feed him all day long. For my pick on this game, listen, I'm going to try not to get too statistical, but no team allowed more trips inside their red zone than Green Bay since Week 10. Well done for the Packers. They exceeded all expectations this year, but the Niners will go on to the NFC Championship game. My next key game takes us to Buffalo as the Bills square off against the Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes and Allen, Part 3. Aren't you excited? I'm very excited, as you can see. Josh Allen threw for 3 touchdowns and broke off a very impressive 52-yard run to add one more on the ground. The win represents the Bills' 6th straight victory. To find out what the Bills need to do to stop the Chiefs at home, let's hear from Mookie Hawkins and Justice Radford from the Bleav in Bills podcast. Guys, is this Buffalo's year?
Thank you, Courtney. Part 3 is right around the corner, Coach. We got Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. The Buffalo Bills did it. A lot of people thought that the Steelers might be able to win this one, but the Bills win in convincing fashion. And Josh Allen looked spectacular doing it. What are you expecting out of this one?
Well, first and foremost, the Bills did make the Steelers look like a 7 seed going out there dominating them the way they're supposed to. Now, hey, you got the Kansas City Chiefs coming into the building, and Coach always had these recipes for success. One, you always had to earn the right to do it, right? 2, it's always good to win the division. And 3, you want to play home games in January. Right now, this Buffalo Bills team is on a 6-game winning streak. You know, this Bills team will be ready to roll. Highmark Stadium will be rocking, and Patrick Mahomes will be entering a hostile environment.
A hostile environment indeed, as Bills Mafia will be out in full effect. That'll do it for us here at Bleav in Bills. Back to you, Courtney. Go Bills!
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yes, the home field advantage means something special in Buffalo. That crowd in Western New York is second to none. Their football team also peaking in all 3 phases at just the right time. They are undeniable. Meanwhile, the Chiefs and the weather, that 4th coldest game in NFL history, they combined to help Kansas City plow over Miami in the wild card round, 26-7. Outside of a broken helmet, Mahomes had a pretty easy day at the office. But now, for the first time in his career, he is forced to play a postseason game on the road. To find out how the Chiefs can win in Buffalo, let's hear from Jason Dunn and Marcus Dash from the Chief Concern podcast. Guys, what is the game plan for Kansas City?
Thanks, Courtney. So, JD, Chiefs traveling to Buffalo. Chiefs are a 2.5-point underdog. It's only the second time in the Mahomes era that Mahomes is an underdog in the playoffs. JD, how do you see this game going?
Well, I do see it in favor of the Chiefs traveling up there to Buffalo. It's going to be a hard game, no doubt about it, but I do see Pacheco having a really good game. Travis Kelce still being as excellent as ever. Rashid Rice, our young receiver, who's been absolutely phenomenal, catching a lot more balls. I see both of those guys getting touchdowns and even Pacheco maybe getting 2. But I think the key to winning this game is stopping Josh Allen. We do that, and our guys show up, which our defense has been doing great this entire season. A phenomenal job with Spags showing up with Chris Jones, Kalafdis, Nick Bolton, and of course Snead, who's traveling McDuffie.
And I hope we come away with a W, so we're talking more free football next week in the AFC Championship game. Back to you, Courtney.
Listen, this is a tough one. I think we could use up the entire 22 minutes of this show breaking down this specific game. Weirdly enough, it is not only Mahomes' first road playoff game, but it's his first time playing in Orchard Park with a full stadium. I think there's going to be plenty of high scoring as well. Rashid Rice had a breakout game for Kansas City last week. But listen, I just think this is Buffalo's year. It's a marquee matchup of the weekend. Everyone's going to be watching this game. My head says Kansas City, but my heart says Buffalo, so I'm taking the Bills in a high-scoring affair. My final key game of the divisional round is filled with amazing storylines as the underdog Tampa Bay Bucks head north to the Motor City to battle the Detroit Lions. What a feel-good story this Lions team has become this year. Listen, no one had them hosting a divisional round playoff game, yet here we are to find out how Jared Goff and his Lions can make it 2 in a row in the playoffs. Let's hear from Jack Kavanaugh and Glover Quinn from the Bleav in Lions podcast. Guys, what do you got for me?
Thanks, Courtney. Glover, the Lions are headed to the second round of the playoffs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that the Lions beat 20-6 earlier in the season. What are you going to be looking for the second time around? Because it's not easy to beat a team twice.
Definitely not easy to beat a team twice. And the things I'm going to be looking for is we got the 2 running backs playing this game. So hopefully that takes a little more pressure off of Jared Goff and the passing game. We saw Levante David. He probably got the better of Sam Laporta in that last game, right? Now Sam Laporta is a little injured. We got to see how that matchup is going to go. And then you want to see how the defensive backs are going to match up against the Buccaneers wide receivers.
My 2 biggest questions are, number 1, can the Bucs keep pace with the Detroit Lions offense? And number 2, can the Lions cover the Bucs wide receivers? It could be an explosive game, or the Lions could handle it like last time. No matter what happens, it's a great time to be a Detroit Lions fan. Back to you, Courtney.
Okay, guys, great point. The Lions secondary must step up and make some very big plays. Also, get Baker Mayfield uncomfortable in the pocket. That's my key for the game. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs have already shocked the NFL world during the regular season by making the playoffs. And to kick off their postseason, they dominated the Eagles at home. Not bad for an NFC South team, eh? To find out how Baker and company win on the road in Detroit, let's hear from Rhett Matthew and Evan Wanish from the Cannon Fire Podcast. Guys, what can we expect from this Bucs team?
Thanks, Courtney. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, the answer is simple. Keep riding the momentum on the offensive side of the ball. Quarterback Baker Mayfield in the wild card round against Philly Monday night, 22 for 36 passing, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Him and the rest of this Buccaneers offense have really come around here in the second half of the season. Offensive coordinator Dave Canales continues to make adjustments to his game plan. The Bucs have another highly anticipated matchup with a tough team that handled them earlier this season, Evan.
Yeah, and when they did handle them, one of the big reasons why was Jared Goff being able to pick apart the Bucs defense through the air, and that's going to be a big key in this one. The Bucs secondary was able to withstand Jalen Hurts, but the Eagles were without A.J. Brown, and really Devonta Smith was one of their only weapons. And so really keying in on Jared Goff, getting pressure on Goff consistently, and affecting that passing game is going to be a huge key for Tampa Bay in this one.
Thanks, Evan. That's all we got for this week. Back to you, Courtney.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, they cannot allow Jared Goff time to pick them apart. The Bucs must get to him if they're going to have any chance of stopping the Lions offense. But here's the big problem. The Lions have not one, but 2 Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates on this offensive squad. Listen, I think the Bucs stops here, and it's the Lions and the Niners in the NFC Championship game. Those are my key games for the divisional round. Next up in Pick 6, we will be breaking down some of the key prop bets of the weekend. Okay, it's time to play Pick 6 on the game plan, and during the playoffs, we will be looking at 6 of the hottest prop bets on the market. To help me break down which side of these bets you should be on, we are joined once again by Michael Fabiano from the Fantasy Football Show and Podcast. Michael, are you ready to play Pick 6?
I am always ready. I will be more prepared than my beloved Dallas Cowboys. I can promise you that.
Oh, I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. We don't have time to, rub it in, but let's just get to this Pick 6 right here. First up, George Kittle, over under 51.5 receiving yards. What do you got?
I'm going to take the over here. The Packers, not great against tight ends, allowing 50-plus receiving yards and 7 touchdowns to the position during the regular season. Last week, Jake Ferguson ate him up, had 10 catches, 93 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Kittle has exceeded this total in 10 of 16 games, averaging 64 yards per. I'm going to go over.
As we said in this show, if you listen with your keen ears, the Packers have allowed more trips to the red zone than any other team since Week 10. So, that's a great matchup right there with George Kittle really hammering it home, putting the points up for those 49ers. Number 2, Josh Allen, over under 40.5 rushing yards.
This one's tough, right, Fallon? Because he can literally knock half of that out with one run.
Yep.
And he did that and more this past week against Pittsburgh. But I'm going to say under, because he's only exceeded this prop 7 times in 18 games this year and just 3 times at home. He has also hit 41 yards twice in 4 games against the Chiefs, so he's hitting the prop twice, missed it twice. This is a risky prop because, again, he can hit it with one run, but I will say under.
Okay. I love your thought. I love your mindset, your mathematics that are included in all of that. All right, number 3, Detroit Lions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're talking about a over-under just for the line of the game, 48.5, which is very high.
Lions home games have gone over the total in 6 of 9 this season, and their offense is averaging 27.2 points per game in their last 5 games at Ford Field. The Buccaneers have gone over the total just 4 times in their last 9 roadies, which is not great, but their offense is averaging 23.8 points per game in their last 6 road games. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. Neither team can stop the pass. I'll go over.
Okay, listen, this is what the NFL wants. This is part of the script, don't you know? Moving on, number 4, Patrick Mahomes, over under 24.5 rushing yards. Do you think he's going to get a good ground game this time?
I think he will go over that total. He's rushed for at least 24 yards 11 times, including the playoffs. So he has been using his legs more often. We've seen that. He's hit that mark in 2 of his last 3 games as well. The Bills have allowed the 5th most rushing yards to quarterbacks at home this season, and Mahomes has 16 carries in his last 3 games. He'll have to use his legs to extend plays and maybe add some yards there. So go over 24.5.
Let's just go with that Chiefs and Bills game, 48.5. I mean, either team could score this alone. So, I mean, are we hammering the over? What's the thought, Vabs?
Well, here's this thing is that the total's actually dropped 3 points. It was at 48.5. Now it's at 45.5 at some books. So, like, that makes me want to go under. All right, Bills games have gone under the number 6 times in 9 regular season home games. And overall, they've gone under the total 11 times in 18 games this year. The Chiefs have also gone under the total 11 times in 18 regular season games. So I'm going to go under this total.
And finally, the last over-under, Texans and Ravens, 45. I mean, this could be a weather scenario up there in Baltimore. I mean, we've seen what it did, wreaked havoc on the over-unders and the lines for that last week. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I'm on the fence here. The Ravens' home games have gone over the total in 5 of 9 this season, and their offense is averaging 34.2 points in their last 6 home games. But the Texans have gone under the total just 3 times in the last 8 roadies, but their offense is averaging just 19.5 points per game in their last 4 road games. Baltimore's defense is typically very good at home. So it's a tough one, but if you made me pick one, I'm probably taking the under here in this game.
Okay, Michael Fabiano, you heard it here first, and we are thrilled to have you. To many more in the postseason as we make our run to the Super Bowl. Thank you so much for your time.
Always my pleasure, Fallon, and have a great weekend.
That's all the time we have on the game plan today. Go check out the Bleav Podcast Network for more in-depth analysis on every team in the league. And don't forget, you can catch every game live on Reach TV all season long. We'll see you next week.